Hello. Let's talk about Australia. It's a place that occupies a frankly enormous amount of space at the bottom of the world map, looking a bit like a misshapen steak someone dropped in the ocean. Officially, it's the Commonwealth of Australia, a name that sounds far more formal and starched than the country itself. It's the only nation on Earth that has an entire continent to itself, which seems a bit greedy if you ask me, but no one did. Finding it is easy. Just look south of Asia, past Indonesia and Papua New Guinea, and there it is, floating in splendid isolation, minding its own business, and daring the rest of the world to come visit. The Australian flag is a rather busy affair, a deep blue banner that tells a story if you know where to look. In the top left corner you'll find the Union Jack, a polite nod to its British colonial past, like a child still keeping their parents' photo on the mantelpiece long after moving out. Let's get the basic, slightly boring but necessary details out of the way. First, the capital city. If you said Sydney, you'd be wrong. Practically everyone thinks that. The actual capital is Canberra. As for population, about 27 million. That's tiny for such a massive country, one of the lowest population densities in the world. Most people cluster along the coast. The interior, the Outback, is left mostly to the kangaroos and the flies. Currency, the Australian dollar, aka the Aussie dollar, colourful waterproof notes that almost look like Monopoly money. They won't disintegrate if you leave them in your swimming trunks. Language is English, but stretched into strine. Typical greeting, how you going? Typical reply, not bad mate. Australia's geography is less a landscape, more a collection of nature's most ambitious and sometimes frankly terrifying experiments. The country is famous for being hot and dry, and a huge chunk of it certainly is. But that's only part of the story. You also get lush tropical rainforests in the north, like the Daintree, which is so ancient it makes other forests look like they were planted yesterday. The natural landmarks are, without exaggeration, epic. You have Uluru, the colossal sandstone monolith that sits in the dead center of the continent, changing color with the shifting light like a moody geological titan. Then there's the Great Barrier Reef, a living structure so enormous it's visible from space. A kaleidoscopic underwater world teeming with life. And then there are the animals. Oh, the animals. Australia is famously home to the marsupials, a group of mammals that decided pouches were a brilliant evolutionary idea. But for every cuddly-looking creature, there's something that wants to kill you. The plant life is just as unique, having adapted to the harsh and varied climates. The continent is dominated by the scent of eucalyptus, with over 700 different species of gum trees. Australian culture is a fascinating blend of laid-back living and a fierce love for the outdoors. Daily life revolves around a simple, unpretentious rhythm. People work hard but value leisure even more. The weekend is sacred. Festivals and public holidays are embraced with gusto. Australia Day, flags, fireworks, lamb on the barbecue, the Melbourne Cup, horse racing that stops the nation. Australia's love of sport, footy, rugby, cricket, Australian rules football. Australian cuisine evolved from British roots into multicultural flavors. Meat pies, fish and chips, Thai green curry, Italian pasta, Vietnamese pho, fresh local ingredients at markets. Vibrant cafe culture in Melbourne. We must talk about the language. Australians have a genius for abbreviation. Barbie, Brekkie, Mosi, Arvo. It's a language that reflects the people. Direct, friendly, and with no time for unnecessary fuss. So the story of Australia begins long before any European ships appeared on the horizon. It actually starts with the indigenous peoples of Australia, who have, the oldest living culture on Earth. For at least 65,000 years, they lived in harmony with this challenging land. Their history isn't written in books, but is actually woven into the landscape itself, passed down through generations in stories, art, and ceremonies known as the Dreamtime. This is the foundational chapter of Australia's history. The next chapter began in 1770, when Captain James Cook sailed down the east coast, mapped it, and claimed it for Britain. Then, in 1788, the first fleet arrived, a convoy of 11 ships carrying convicted criminals from Britain's overflowing prisons. The 19th century was a period of massive change. The gold rush of the 1850s transformed the colonies, bringing a flood of immigrants from all over the world, turning small towns into bustling cities. This growing sense of Australian identity culminated on January 1st, 1901. The 6 separate British colonies united to become one independent nation, the Commonwealth of Australia. This process, known as federation, was achieved peacefully through referendums and political negotiation. It marked the birth of modern Australia, a nation forged from an ancient indigenous heritage, a difficult colonial past, and the collective ambition to build a new society at the bottom of the world. The Australian economy is a bit of a marvel. It has managed to avoid a recession for nearly 3 decades. A huge part of this success story lies quite literally in the ground. Australia is a mining superpower. Iron ore, coal, gold, uranium. It's essentially a gigantic quarry. It digs up these resources and sells them to the world, especially to fast-growing Asian economies. That has kept the national bank account looking very healthy. But Australia is not just about digging things up. Another major pillar is agriculture. Vast open spaces, wheat, wool, beef, wine. Australian wine has gone from curiosity to world-class. Barossa Valley, Margaret River, bottles that can stand next to the best from France or California. This clean green image is a powerful brand. Australian produce is highly sought after worldwide. Beyond the farm and mine is a sophisticated service sector, finance, healthcare, education, tourism. The country's banks are among the most stable and profitable. Universities attract hundreds of thousands of international students every year. What makes Australia special is diversification and deep integration with the booming Asia-Pacific region. Its geographic location, once a disadvantage, is now a major asset. It's a smart, lucky country that has played its hand exceptionally well. When people think of visiting Australia, 2 images usually pop into their heads: the Sydney Opera House and a kangaroo. And while you should absolutely see the Opera House, its sail-like design is a true architectural masterpiece. There is so much more to this continent-sized playground. Sydney itself is a stunning city, built around one of the world's most beautiful harbours. You can climb the harbour bridge for a heart-stopping view, catch a ferry to Manly Beach, or explore the historic cobbled streets of the Rocks. For a completely different vibe, head south to Melbourne. This is Australia's capital of cool, a city famous for its labyrinth of laneways, hidden bars, world-class restaurants, and incredible street art. It's a place to get lost in, to wander without a plan. Melbourne is also sports mad, so catching a game of Aussie rules football at the MCG is an essential cultural experience. And just outside the city is the Great Ocean Road, one of the world's most spectacular coastal drives. But the real magic of Australia lies in its wild, open spaces. A trip to the Red Centre to witness Uluru and the nearby Kata rock formations at sunrise or sunset is an almost spiritual experience. The sheer scale and silence of the Outback are humbling. For nature lovers, Tasmania is a haven of pristine wilderness with some of the cleanest air on the planet. Or head to Western Australia to swim with gentle whale sharks at Ningaloo Reef, a less crowded but equally stunning alternative to the Great Barrier Reef. A few travel tips. Australia is huge, so don't try to see it all in one trip. Domestic flights are your friend. The sun is incredibly strong, so a hat, sunscreen, and sunglasses are non-negotiable. And finally, get off the beaten path. While the big cities are fantastic, the true character of Australia is often found in its small country towns, its quirky roadside pubs, and its endless empty highways. Talk to the locals, be open to adventure, and you'll discover a country that's even more remarkable than the postcards suggest. For a country with a relatively small population, it punches well above its weight, producing globally recognized talent. In film, think of Hugh Jackman, who can seamlessly switch from a razor-clawed superhero to a singing, dancing showman. There's Kate Blanchett, an actress of such skill and grace, and the Hemsworth brothers. The music world has been shaped by Aussie artists. AC/DC became one of the biggest selling bands of all time. We've seen the global pop domination of Kylie Minogue and the haunting genius of Nick Cave. More recently, artists like Sia and Tame Impala continue this tradition. But Australia's most important exports might be the ones who work in labs and libraries. Dr. Fiona Wood's spray-on skin has revolutionized burn treatment. Barry Marshall swallowed bacteria to prove his ulcer theory. The cochlear implant has allowed hundreds of thousands to hear. From Rupert Murdoch's media empires to writers like Tim Winton and Richard Flanagan winning international acclaim. What these famous Australians share is a certain boldness, a willingness to take on the world from their remote corner of it. Just when you think you've got a handle on Australia, it throws a few more curveballs. Did you know Australia has more than 10,000 beaches? Visit one new beach every day, and it would take you over 27 years. This is a frankly ridiculous number of beaches. Here's another one. There are more kangaroos in Australia than people. A lot more. Around 50 million, nearly double the human population. This means if the kangaroos ever decide to organize, the humans are in serious trouble. Australia is home to the world's largest cattle station. Anna Creek Station covers around 24,000 square kilometers. It's bigger than the entire country of Israel. It is, for all intents and purposes, its own small country dedicated entirely to raising cows. And finally, a political absurdity. In 1932, the Australian military declared war on emus. I am not making this up. The Great Emu War was a spectacular failure. The emus proved surprisingly cunning adversaries. The army withdrew in defeat. It's a perfect, hilarious, and deeply Australian story. Thank you for joining me on this whirlwind tour of the land down under. Ancient soul, modern cities, deadly creatures, friendly people. There's always another story, another landscape, another quirky fact hiding just around the corner. If you enjoyed this journey, be sure to follow along as we explore more fascinating countries across our incredible world. There's always more to discover.